A few months ago, I took a late-night shift at Burger King. I was juggling school and 2 jobs. I thought it would be an easy way to make some money for my filmmaking classes. I had no idea what I was getting into. On my second night, I sat in the back when the drive-thru intercom started buzzing. There were no cars in line. At first, I thought it was broken. Then I heard laughter from outside. I was alone, and I felt a chill. I convinced myself it was just fatigue. But still, something felt off. As the weeks went by, strange things kept happening. One night, I went to grab fries. Half of them were gone. I thought maybe my coworker Billy had taken them. But he had been with me the whole time. The fryers suddenly started up by themselves too. My heart raced, and I felt beads of sweat on my palms. I wanted to say it was just a machine malfunction, but it felt wrong. Later that week, I found a crumpled note in the condiment station. It said, "They are watching." I almost tossed it aside, but I couldn't. It sent a shiver through me. I glanced around, half expecting someone to jump out. I was starting to doubt my own sanity. Then there were the customers with sunglasses. It was midnight, so why wear shades? They pulled up, ordered strange combinations, and left without a word. Their eyes seemed to look right through me, as if they weren't really there. One of them smiled, and I felt a cold wave wash over me. The laughter grew louder every night. One night, what felt like my longest shift, I noticed a figure near the drive-thru. I couldn't see his face, but he looked strange. I asked if he was okay. He didn't answer, just pointed toward the sky. My heart pounded, and I felt tingling on my skin. I looked away to grab my phone, and when I looked back, he was gone. Just like that. I still think about that night. The more I put it together, the more I realized something was definitely wrong. The laughter, the note, the customers, it was like pieces of a puzzle I didn't understand. Was it a prank? Or was it something deeper? I started to shift my hours, hoping that maybe things would change. I took day shifts instead, but the memories didn't leave me. Every time I drove by the Burger King, I felt a knot in my stomach. Some nights, I still hear laughter in my dreams. It chills me. I don't know what I experienced there. I don't even know what it all means. Each trip back to the fast food joint feels like it pulls at me, igniting questions in my mind. I wonder if I'll ever understand what really happened behind those greasy counters. Or if I just imagined it all. The following week, I decided to visit the Burger King during daylight. I thought maybe it would help clear my head. The sun was bright, and the parking lot was filled with kids and families. It felt different, almost normal. I chuckled at myself for being scared. I figured it was time to tackle this head on. As I walked inside, the familiar smell of fries hit me. I approached the counter, hoping to find Billy. I needed someone to share my weird experiences with. When I asked about him, the manager said he hadn't been showing up for his shifts. Just like that, my stomach twisted again. I felt a rush of unease. Was he just sick, or was something else going on? After grabbing a drink, I decided to sit at a booth and watch. Everything looked innocent, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The laughter echoed in my mind, almost like a distant memory tugging at my thoughts. The customers seemed different too. As I watched, I noticed one or two of them whispering to each other, glancing my way. I brushed it off, convincing myself that I must be imagining things. But then, I caught sight of a woman standing just outside, her sunglasses reflecting sunlight straight back at me. She was staring. My hands went cold, and I felt a knot in my throat. It was the same chilling sense I had when I worked the night shifts. Curiosity kicked in. I left my seat and stepped outside. The woman was still there, her expression unreadable. I approached her, trying to keep my voice steady. "Excuse me, do you need something?" Her lips curled into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You shouldn't be here." The words startled me. "What do you mean?" She tilted her head. "They see you." A chill ran down my spine. I looked around, half expecting someone to jump out. "Who?" But before she could answer, a boy appeared next to her, his face ashen, his lips moving silently. Everything seemed to slow, as if the world was watching us. I felt my heart race. I remembered the laughter, the customers, the strange figure. Then, the woman took a step closer, and I felt panic bubble inside me. You have to go, now. I took a step back, but then I noticed something strange. Behind them, in the reflection of the glass door, I saw a figure standing in the shadows, a tall, dark silhouette different from the man I had seen. Just standing there, watching. My instincts kicked in, and I turned to run back inside. But the laughter I thought I had heard before came back, louder and echoing all around me. It felt like everything was closing in. I could barely breathe. When I saw it, the figure in the reflection was gone. I spun around but saw nothing but ordinary customers going about their day. Had I really seen anything? My heart raced as dread pulled in my stomach. As I stepped back inside, I knew I was tangled in something much bigger than myself. I had to understand what was happening. But now, I had more questions than answers. I had to return at night, but part of me wanted to run far away from this place. I had to figure it out to free myself from this creeping dread, or it might swallow me whole. That night, I hesitated before heading back to Burger King. The sun had set, and the shadows seemed longer, deeper. I parked in the lot, the fluorescent lights flickering like they were about to go out. I could feel my heart pound as I approached the entrance. What was I even hoping to find? The diner looked quiet, almost desolate. As I stepped inside, the door chimed, sending a shiver down my spine. The familiar smell of fries still lingered, but now it felt like a trap. My eyes scanned the room, but it was mostly empty, save for a few scattered customers. No sign of the woman or the boy from before. I took a seat where I could see the door and the kitchen. There was something comforting about being in a spot where I could observe everything. As I sipped my drink, my thoughts raced. I had to understand why that woman warned me. I had to understand why Billy had just vanished. Then, a rustling noise from the back caught my attention. A figure stepped out from the shadows, face illuminated only by the pale light of the kitchen. It was a man, and though I didn't recognize him, he seemed familiar somehow. I squinted, trying to place him, when the memories rushed back. I had seen him in passing, working late shifts with Billy. He moved slowly, almost as if he were wading through thick air. There was no one else in the kitchen. I rose from my seat and approached him cautiously. "Hey, are you okay?" My voice came out shaky, betraying my nervousness. He turned slowly, eyes wide, filled with something. Fear? Recognition? "You shouldn't be here," he said in a whisper. The same words as the woman outside. My stomach dropped. Why? What's going on? He opened his mouth, but before he could respond, a loud crash came from the back. I jumped, instinctively stepping back as his face turned to horror. "They're here," he gasped. His eyes darted to the exit, but it was too late. The laughter from earlier flooded the room again, echoing in my ears clearer and closer this time. I felt a presence right behind me. A dark shape loomed at the edge of the kitchen, moving with a purpose. I couldn't turn to see it, but every instinct in my body screamed to run. I could sense it reaching for me, cold and unnatural. I bolted toward the exit, heart racing like a drum, my breath coming in shallow gasps. Just as I felt a grip on my shoulder, I burst through the door and into the cool night air. I didn't stop running until I reached my car, the laughter now faint, but still ringing in my ears. I quickly locked the doors and leaned against the steering wheel, trying to catch my breath. What just happened? I muttered to myself. I needed answers, but the more I thought about it, the more questions flooded my mind. I gripped the wheel tighter. Whatever was happening at Burger King was far worse than I had imagined. Just then, a text message pinged on my phone. I looked down, heart thumping again. It was from an unknown number. "You're not safe. They can't be stopped." My blood ran cold. Who had sent that? What did it mean? I fumbled with my phone, feeling a mix of dread and determination. I had to figure this out. I couldn't back down now. But with that thought, a gnawing sense of fear crept back in. What else was waiting for me in the darkness? The next morning, I felt the weight of the previous night settle heavily on me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was lurking just out of sight. I had little sleep and even less clarity. I needed to talk to anyone who could help explain what was happening. After a quick breakfast, I drove over to the local library. Inside, the smell of old paper and ink wrapped around me like a comforting hug. I settled into a corner with a worn-out book and tried to focus. Yet all I could think about was the dark figure in the Burger King, the dread I had felt, and the text. Hours passed. I combed through articles about local disappearances and mysterious happenings, hoping to find something that connected to Billy or the strange woman. Each detail only fueled my anxiety. I didn't even notice how fast time was passing until the librarian cleared her throat, reminding me they would be closing soon. I stepped back outside, blinking at the bright sunlight. I needed to go back to Burger King, not out of bravery, but necessity. Something inside urged me to uncover the truth, no matter how unsettling it might be. As I drove back, memories of the night before filled my head. I arrived at the empty parking lot, my hands trembling slightly on the steering wheel. I took a deep breath, gathered what courage I had, and stepped out. The diner's neon sign buzzed overhead, almost mocking my hesitance. As I entered, the familiar odor of fries met me again. The place was just as empty as before. I peered through the small gaps in the kitchen window, half expecting to see the man from the night before. But it was vacant, and dread seeped back into my veins. Then, a rustling sound came from the back again. My heart dropped, but curiosity pulled me forward. I stepped cautiously toward the noise, breathing quietly to hear better. Something felt off, electricity crackling in the air like the calm before a storm. When I reached the kitchen entrance, the man from last night was there, but he was different this time. He looked even more distressed. His coat was stained, and his hands trembled. "You shouldn't have come back," he whispered, glancing nervously over his shoulder. Before I could respond, he rushed forward. "You have to listen to me. There's something in this place, something we can't see." "What do you mean?" My mind raced. He pulled me further from the kitchen and behind a set of shelves littered with cleaning supplies. I thought I could find a way to stop it, but I was wrong. It already got Billy. A chill enveloped me at the sound of Billy's name. "What do you know? What happened?" "Just after you left, I heard voices. They were calling for him." His eyes were wide, glistening with a mix of fear and desperation. "I saw shadows moving, they took him." I felt my stomach twist. The laughter echoed in my mind again, layering over his words and twisting into something sinister. "What does this mean? What do we do?" "Hide," he hissed, raising a shaky finger. "It's coming back." Before I could question him further, the lights flickered violently overhead, plunging us into darkness. Panic surged in my chest, fire igniting my fear. Then, as if on cue, the laughter returned louder this time, reverberating around us. I had to act now. My eyes darted around, searching for an escape, but dread washed over me as I realized I had walked right into something far worse than I could have imagined. The air grew thick with tension, and every muscle in my body tightened. I could almost feel the shadows creeping closer, even though I couldn't see them. I glanced at the trembling man beside me. His panic was palpable, and his eyes darted toward the darkness like prey sensing a predator. "Where do we hide?" I whispered, my voice trembling as fear clawed at the edges of my thoughts. "There's a storage room in the back. It's small, but it's better than being out here," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. Without waiting for an answer, he grabbed my arm and rushed toward the narrow hallway leading to the storage area. Panic surged with each step, but I forced myself to focus. As we approached the door, I could hear it again, the laughter. It was closer, echoing with a mocking tone that chilled my bones. We slipped into the cramped storage room, the dim light filtering through the cracks in the door. The man pressed his back against the wall, glancing nervously at me. "We just need to wait. It won't find us in here," he said, though his voice lacked conviction. Do you know what it is? I asked, my heart racing. What are we hiding from? I don't know, he admitted, rubbing his hands together as if to ward off a chill. It's like it knows what we fear. It plays with it. It took Billy. Trying to suppress an urge to panic, I took a deep breath. But why? What does it want? He shook his head violently, a wild look in his eyes. I thought maybe if I stayed here long enough, I could understand. I was wrong. I thought it was just a joke at first, just shadows in the corner, but then he trailed off, his eyes reflecting horror. As I peered through the door, I spotted flickering shadows dancing just outside the storage room. My breath caught in my throat. I strained to listen, trying to discern anything in the chaotic soundscape. It was a strange mix, voices overlapping, laughter, whispers so soft I could barely catch the words. It knows we're here, I whispered. Suddenly, the laughter crescendoed, morphing into a cacophony that made my skin crawl. Without thinking, I slammed the door, sealing us inside. The man stiffened beside me. What did you do? He hissed. It's coming closer. I had to, I said, panic spilling out. What if it gets in? For a moment, we both held our breath, listening. The laughter faded, but the shadows lingered, swirling under the door as if waiting for an invitation. Then it happened. The door handle rattled. My heart raced. It's trying to get in. Don't let it in, the man begged, his voice rising in terror. If it gets in, it'll find you. I gripped the doorknob, my hands sweaty and trembling. What do we do? I don't know. Just don't open it. The handle rattled again, and a low, guttural sound filled the air. It echoed through the cramped space, sending shivers down my spine. Stop it! I shouted at the door, desperate to ward off whatever waited outside. But as the noises grew louder, and the shadows seemed to morph into something more tangible, I knew that hiding would only buy us time. I needed to find a way out or face whatever dark thing was lurking just beyond our fragile barrier. Then, without warning, the door burst open. And that's when I saw it. It was towering, a mass of swirling darkness that seemed to absorb the faint light around it. For a moment, I couldn't move, paralyzed by the sight. It didn't just look like shadows. It twisted and turned, morphing into all the things I feared most: the ghostly outlines of lost friends, the flickers of faces I didn't want to remember. The man I was with gasped, his eyes wide. Stay back! He shouted, but it was too late. The darkness lunged forward, swallowing the room whole. I turned instinctively to the back wall, seeking an escape. Beneath the chaos, a faint glimmer caught my eye. A small window, just large enough. I didn't think, I just ran. Wait! The man cried, but I shoved my shoulder against the wall, aiming for where I hoped the window was. The shadows shrieked, a chorus of lost cries enveloping us, and I felt them near breath on my skin, cold and menacing. I reached the window and pushed against the frame. It was stuck. Panic surged as I heard the whispers intensifying, intertwining with laughter that pierced through my fear. Let me in! They taunted. Let me show you! I yanked at the window, tearing at the hinges until I felt it give a little. I need you to help me, I shouted at the man. Push! He joined me, shoving against the frame. For a moment, it felt like our combined desperation would tear us free. But then, the shadows coiled around my feet, as if to pull me back. My heart thundered as I fought against their grasp. Just a bit more, I urged. I could feel the heat of the darkness creeping closer, its form shifting, narrowing the space around us. With one final shove, the window flew open, and I tumbled through, landing hard on the ground outside. I quickly picked myself up and turned back just in time to see the man staring into the abyss that had consumed the storage room. Come on! I shouted, waving him through. He hesitated, his eyes locked on the swirling darkness. I can't do it now! I yelled, fear coursing through me. He seemed to snap out of it, leaping through the opening just before a tendril of shadow reached out, snatching at empty air. He hit the ground beside me, breathing heavily. I looked back at the window. It wouldn't hold for long. Where do we go? He gasped, his expression a mixture of relief and dread. Anywhere but here, I said. The laughter died behind us, replaced by an eerie silence, but I could feel it lurking, waiting to make its next move. As we stumbled away, a sense of dread settled in my gut. We had escaped, but not for long. What do we do now? He asked, his voice trembling. I don't know, I said, glancing back at the darkened entrance. But I have a feeling it's not done with us yet. That's when I heard it again, the laughter rising in the distance, echoing through the night. We sprinted away from the warehouse, my lungs burning as I dragged the man along. The laughter still echoed in my mind, mixing with the adrenaline churning in my stomach. I glanced over my shoulder, expecting to see the shadows pouring out after us, but the darkness stayed behind, a lurking predator. Do you think it followed us? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know, I replied, still scanning the area. Let us just keep moving. We stumbled onto a street, fluorescent lights buzzing above us. It felt surreal, a stark contrast to the chaos we had just escaped. I could see the fast food sign of a Burger King glowing in the distance, and I had the strange urge to head toward it. Why are we going there? He asked, confused. I don't know. I think we might be safe inside. It's a public place. But I was lying to myself. I wanted to be near people to feel the presence of others, just in case, whatever that thing was, decided to hunt us down. We reached the entrance, and I pushed the glass door open. The scent of fried food hit us, mingling with the scent of cleaning supplies. A few customers lingered, but no one seemed alarmed. It was as if they were blissfully unaware of the terror that had just unfolded. Let us sit over there, I said, pointing to a booth in the corner. We slid in, my hands shaking as I rubbed my palms against my jeans. The man looked around, wide-eyed. That was insane. I can't believe we just ran from. Suddenly, the lights flickered, dimming for a heartbeat before returning to normal. My heart dropped. Something wasn't right. I kept my eyes glued on the entrance, half expecting the shadows to come creeping through. I know we're safe here, but I have this feeling, I said, my voice low. I don't think we're done with that thing. No, it can't be, he said. This is a busy place. It wouldn't dare. But his words barely masked the tremor in his voice. Just then, the cashier behind the counter dropped a tray with a loud crash, drawing our attention. She cursed under her breath and bent down to pick it up. But as she did, I noticed a flicker of movement in the window behind her, something dark slithering past. That's when I saw it. I started pointing. What? He turned, panic blooming in his eyes. I leaned over the table, heart racing. There's something outside. I think it's watching us. As I said those words, the restaurant plunged into darkness. The only light now came from the emergency exit signs glowing eerily red. A wave of silence washed over the room, replaced by the sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate. Please, no, the man whispered, gripping the edge of the table. Then I heard it again. The laughter. It rang through the darkness like a taunt, mocking us. The fear flooded back, paralyzing me for a moment. Suddenly, a mechanical voice pierced through the dimness. Welcome! How may I help you? But it wasn't the cashier. Someone or something had taken her place. It spoke from the shadows, and the hairs on my arms stood on end. That's when the lights flickered back to life, illuminating a figure standing behind the counter. It was shrouded in darkness, its features impossible to make out. In an instant, I realized we had made a grave mistake coming here. The thing that had haunted us was not far behind. The figure melted into sight as the lights stabilized, revealing a tall, lanky figure with elongated limbs. It wore a uniform, but it was tattered and stained, as if left too long in the sun. Its head tilted at an unnatural angle, and I struggled to tear my gaze away. What do you want? I asked, my voice trembling. The thing didn't respond. Instead, it leaned closer, eyes glinting in a way that felt more animal than human. The laughter echoed again, louder this time, reverberating off the walls like a haunting hymn. I glanced at the man beside me. He looked ready to bolt. We have to get out of here, he managed, his voice shaky but filled with urgency. Not yet, I whispered, eyes darting around the restaurant, searching for an exit. My instincts screamed at me to run, but something held me in place. Fear? Curiosity? Maybe a mix of both. The shadowy figure extended a slender hand beyond the counter, pointing toward us. Welcome back, it crooned, the voice dripping with malice. I hope you're hungry. A rush of cold washed over me. The customers seated at other tables hadn't moved an inch. They were frozen, their expressions twisted in horror, eyes wide but unseeing, as though they were trapped in a dream. What did it do to them? I thought, gut clenching. I could feel panic rising in my chest, heavy and suffocating. Run! I suddenly realized. The sound of the laughter intensified, blending with the faint sound of something skittering across the floor. The figure behind the counter leaned closer, becoming a dark mass of twisted limbs and shadow. I grabbed the man's arm and pulled him toward the exit. Follow me! I yelled, my heart racing. We raced through the aisles, dodging tables and chairs. As we neared the front, the emergency exit sign flickered and dimmed, and the door appeared to warp and stretch, like a mirage. Why isn't it opening? He shouted, panic lacing his voice. I don't know. Just push. We threw ourselves against the door, and it finally gave way, slamming open into the night. But as we spilled outside, an icy wind whipped around us. There was no one in the parking lot, no cars, no people, just the streetlights casting long shadows. I turned back to look inside the restaurant. The figure now stood at the counter, watching us with an unsettling grin, its too wide mouth stretched impossibly. I saw its tongue flick out like a serpent tasting the air, as the laughter echoed against the walls. Go! Just run! I urged, and we took off down the street, desperation fueling our legs. But then I heard the sound of footsteps behind us, steady and relentless, echoing through the still night. Whatever it was coming after us. That's when I realized this wasn't over. I could feel it. The laughter lingered, more than just a memory. It was a promise. It's not done with us yet. We sprinted down the empty street, our breaths coming in quick gasps. I dared a glance over my shoulder, but the figure from the restaurant had vanished like smoke in the wind. The laughter still echoed in my ears, relentless and chilling. I had no idea how far it had followed us, but the feeling of dread clawed at my insides like a wild animal. Where are we going? My companion panted, his voice trembling. I don't know, I admitted. Anywhere but here. The streetlights flickered above us, and shadows danced on the pavement, making every corner feel like a potential trap. Let us just find a place to hide, he suggested, glancing nervously around us. Ahead, I spotted a convenience store, the bright sign flickering inconsistently. Maybe we could find some help inside. I pushed through the door, and the faint chime of the bell sounded alarmingly cheerful against the tension of the night. Inside, the air felt calm, almost too calm. The shelves were stocked with snacks, drinks, and magazines, but a darkness lingered at the edges. I looked through the glass, half expecting to see the figure appear in front of the store, waiting for us outside. Hello? I called out, but all I heard was the soft hum of the refrigerator units. Is anyone here? We should call the police, my companion suggested, fingers gripping the edge of the counter. Good idea, but I don't know if I want to stay in one place, I replied. As I fumbled with the phone, the sounds outside faded. The streetlights dimmed one by one until the bright glow of the store was the only illumination. Then I noticed something strange. A magazine caught my eye, its cover showing a family eating at a restaurant. The neon lights shining in the background looked eerily familiar. My heart sank as I realized it was the same restaurant where we just escaped. Look at this, I said, showing it to my companion. Why would they be featuring that place? He paled as he looked. No, it can't be. We just left there. Right then, the lights flickered again, and the glass door banged open, slamming against the wall. A gust of chilling wind swept inside. I jumped back, the phone nearly slipping from my hands. My heart raced as I turned to see nothing but emptiness outside. Something's not right, I muttered. Suddenly, the streetlights outside blinked back to life, one by one. But they didn't light up the parking lot as expected. Instead, they illuminated figures standing beneath each light, people in tattered clothing, eyes wide and vacant, eerily similar to those frozen in horror inside the restaurant. "They're all staring at us," my companion said, voice barely above a whisper. Panic surged anew. I shoved the magazine back down onto the counter. "We have to leave. Now!" As we bolted toward the exit, a booming laughter echoed from behind us inside the store, the kind of laughter that slithered under your skin. I glanced back one last time, and to my horror, the tattered figure loomed just inside the doorway, its grin wider than before. My legs felt like jelly as I pushed through the door, and we ran into the night, knowing that whatever that thing was, it hadn't just been waiting for us. It had been waiting for something much worse. As we sprinted into darkness, I felt my breath catch. I had no idea where we were headed, but an instinct whispered that we hadn't seen the last of it yet. We stumbled down the street, the chill of fear clinging to our backs as if something unseen was following. With every hurried step, my breath came in sharp gasps, and my thoughts raced. I could feel the laughter echoing in the distance, wrapping around us like a dark cocoon. My mind reeled with images of what I had seen, the shadowy figures, that grinning entity's shadows woven into my thoughts. "Where do we go?" my companion asked, his panic evident. I thought of my car parked a few blocks down, the only semblance of security I had left. "The car," I replied, though even I wasn't sure it would be safe. We sprinted toward the parking lot as adrenaline coursed through my veins. The street around us was eerily deserted, too quiet for the chaos that had just unfolded. The flickering streetlights emphasized the surreal atmosphere, casting long, exaggerated shadows that danced at the edge of my vision. I hesitated, glancing over my shoulder. "I don't think we're alone." "Just keep running," he urged, and we pressed on, urgency driving us faster. In the distance, I could see the familiar outline of my car, its headlights dark in the night. Relief surged through me, but it was quickly followed by apprehension. As we approached the car, I fumbled for my keys, heart hammering with every jangle. I twisted the key into the ignition, nothing. Panic rose again. "Come on!" I yelled as I turned the key again. This time, the engine sputtered. The laughter echoed once more, a sinister melody that wrapped around us. I could hear it weaving through the night air like a dark mist, reaching for us. "We have to go now," my companion yelled, glancing back apprehensively. "Just a second. Please come on," I begged, turning the key one last time. The engine roared to life, a sound that felt like salvation. I shoved the gear into drive and slammed my foot on the gas, peeling away from the curb. The car shot forward, hurtling us down the street. I didn't look back. Guilt prickled at the unconscious, silent plea from the boy left behind. Was there any hope for him? For those who were waiting beyond the glass, their vacant eyes chasing us into the night? "I can't believe we made it," my companion panted, though I sensed his uncertainty. "Not yet," I replied, scanning the rearview mirror and the dark road ahead. The shadows flickered behind us, distorted and elongated under the streetlights. The laughter faded, but the feeling of being watched clung to us, like a stifling fog. We navigated through the city until I spotted a gas station, a flickering beacon in the darkness. "We need to stop, or we won't make it far," I said. My eyelids felt heavy, and exhaustion was creeping in, but I couldn't let my guard down. I parked the car by the pumps, hesitant to step out. "What if it finds us here?" my companion questioned, worry etching his features. "It doesn't know that we're here yet," I said, though my voice lacked conviction. "We just need to refuel and get moving again." As we stepped out of the car, the cold air struck us. There was a spine-chilling silence around the gas station. The buzzing of the neon lights and the faint humming of the refrigerator units created an unsettling ambience. I glanced around. Everything appeared normal, but it felt wrong, like something was brewing just underneath. "Stay close," I advised, moving toward the convenience store entrance. Each step felt weighted, my heart pounding furiously. As I opened the door, the bell jingled, yet it felt like a warning. Inside, the shelves stood full, but my instincts screamed that we weren't safe. I rushed to grab snacks and water while keeping an eye out for any sign of danger. My companion peeked through the window, scanning the parking lot. "I don't see anything," he said, though I could hear the lingering uncertainty. Just then, a flicker caught my attention. Outside, a figure appeared at the edge of the lights, eyes hidden beneath the shadow of a wide-brimmed hat. It moved slowly, deliberately, as if savoring its time. "Do you see that?" I whispered, pointing toward the figure. I think so," he replied, stepping closer to the glass. The laughter crept back into my ears, filling the store with a haunting harmony. I could feel an eerie excitement in the air, the atmosphere thick with malevolence. "We need to get out of here," I hissed urgently, grabbing my companion's arm. Before we could make a move, the lights in the store flickered wildly as the figure stepped closer. Without thinking, I bolted toward the exit. "Run!" I yelled, pushing through the door and skidding to a halt outside. But as we scanned the night, the figure disappeared. It could have been an illusion, a cruel trick of the mind, but the sensations lingered: anticipation, horror, desperation. "Which way?" I murmured, frantically looking for any familiar sight. "I don't know," he replied, panic rising again. Then, just beyond the parking lot, a car pulled up, and I squinted into the interior. A family looked out, expressions blank, eyes glazed like the others we had seen. A chill ran down my spine. "Something's wrong with them," I whispered, my stomach twisting. The comforting hum of proximity faded, feeling replaced by an unbearable heaviness. We turned and dashed towards my car, the laughter surrounding us once more, fading in and out like a cruel symphony. "Get in!" I shouted, fumbling with the door handle. As we dove into the car, I glanced back once more, dread pooling in the pit of my stomach. It was there, shifting out of the shadows, growing larger, its laughter merging with the wind. "Go, go, go!" my companion yelled, but something held me in place. I gripped the wheel, fighting the urge to look again. The feeling of being caught came crashing down, leaving me desperate to escape. The darkness seemed to pulse around the car, thicker than ever before. And just like that, it was upon us. I turned the ignition, praying desperately as I glanced back at the smoky figure that rose. It took the shape of a friend, of a stranger I barely remembered, all faces cycling through laughter and despair. The engine sputtered, and dread clawed at my heart. Then, finally, it roared to life as I slammed my foot down, sending us careening down the street. The laughter echoed louder now, as if it were celebrating our fear, chasing us through the night like an unseen predator. My hands tightened around the steering wheel as we tore through the darkness, uncertain of what awaited us, or if indeed we would escape. But deep down, I knew, whatever hunted us wasn't finished yet. The laughter, a promise of what awaited, haunted me as we sped away, each glance back tauntingly revealing that the mystery remained unsolved, its nature hidden in the shadows, leaving a haunting past suspended in the air. I drove on, heart pounding, feeling the twisting pull of the unknown, and in that quiet, insidious way, I realized that some questions would never reach the light, and their shadows would forever linger.